Lead me on, oh Lord, I pray. Maybe sometimes then you don't. Leave your mind alone.
Okay. Oh. I was going to say, is the sound working? But I can hear myself. It's definitely working, isn't it? We're going to start in 1 to 2 minutes, I've just been told. So bear with us. We are starting now. So, first of all, huge welcome to all of you here today to celebrate the legacy of the Women in Innovation programme. It's fantastic to see so many of you here in the room with us in Manchester. We've got hundreds of people actually that are joining online for this, having the online experience today. So we've got a really packed agenda for you, but before I go through the agenda, I'd like to just run through a little bit of housekeeping for you. So there aren't any fire alarms scheduled, so if there is a fire alarm, we need to exit the room quickly, safely, and make our way towards the main stairwell, which is by the lifts that many of you would have come up into the room from. Today is International Women's Day, and the theme for International Women's Day this year is Embrace Equality. Embrace equity, sorry, and it's equity, not equality specifically, because the message for International Women's Day is that a focus on equality, a focus on equal opportunities is not enough. It would be if we were all starting at the same place and it was a level playing field, but frankly we know that isn't the situation out there in reality. So what we need are equitable actions. And our Women in Innovation programme is an example of an equitable action. And in 2016, I started exploring the idea for a prize for women innovators. And it felt actually quite risky at the time, because we as an organisation hadn't done very much in this space. We didn't have a track record. There was no path to follow. And actually, I had lots of conversations with lots of different people, many senior voices, and actually some people told me it wasn't a very good idea to do a Women in Innovation programme. But nevertheless, overall, the feedback was extremely positive that this was something that we should get involved in. So we initiated a very, very small pilot back in 2016, and very quickly it was clear from the response that we received that this programme was needed, was wanted, and we could have a significant impact with the programme. And that is what we're here today to talk about. So let me show you the agenda. And this is me. So I'm Head of Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Programmes at Innovate UK. So this is our agenda. So we're going to start with the Women in Innovation programme. We're here in Manchester, and our first speaker is Lou Cordwell. And she's a perfect speaker to kick the event off today because of her role in Manchester. So Lou is the Chief Creative Officer for an organisation called Magnetic, and it's a design-build agency transforming change within organisations. Lou is also very influential in the Manchester region in her role as Chair of the Greater Manchester Local Enterprise Partnership. So Lou, I'd like to invite you up to say a few words of welcome to everybody. Thank you.
Okay, morning everyone. This is quite formal for me, but we'll give it a go. So, and I like lecterns to hide behind. So, even though I'm mic'd, I'll pretend I'm speaking into this one. So, morning and welcome to Manchester. As somebody who seems to have accidentally spent most of her career in entirely male-dominated industries, which it turns out is most industries, to your point earlier, one, having a room full of women, and taking some time out for a couple of hours just to celebrate all of the achievements that people are collectively in this room and the people who are joining us online today out there in the world delivering as women is amazing. To do it in Manchester as somebody who thinks this is the greatest city in the universe is even better, an even prouder moment for us. So welcome on all of those fronts. So I guess just for 60 seconds, a bit on my background and what I do for a living and my kind of innovation credentials, if not I would have ever called them credentials or even used the word innovation probably until the last couple of years. But my background is as founder initially, so I describe myself as an accidental tech entrepreneur about 20-something years ago, because I am very old. I started a company mainly because I couldn't find the one I wanted to work for. So I had absolutely no ambition to run my own business. I didn't know anybody who did that. My mum worked for the university, my dad worked for the council, and in the end I just couldn't find somewhere to work that did what I wanted to do. So I built a company called Magnetic North. We were proudly Northern, we put it in our name, and I ran that business for 20 years, and we made pioneering digital products and services for some of the most amazing organisations in the world out of the city that we loved. So we worked for Google and the BBC and all these incredible organisations who were right on the vanguard of how technology was innovating the way that we talk and engage people. And that was amazing, and we had brilliant fun. And then 2 years ago, I sold that business. It's now called Magnetic. It's part of a much bigger organisation that operates across London and Manchester, hence we couldn't call ourselves Magnetic North anymore, but the legacy lives on. I also now, in other bits of my world, have the great pleasure of investing and non-execing for a number of businesses, all female-founded businesses, and largely they tend to be the businesses that I wish I'd invented. So I have this incredible moment where people approach me, I go, I can't believe you've approached me, this is incredible, I wish I'd started this business. And then I get to go on this journey. And I think, you know, in the context of today, what's incredible is to see the impact that those female founders and those entrepreneurs have on their customers, on their families, providing points of inspiration for people in their community. So that is what one of my great joys is, watching their role in the UK's innovation process. And then my greatest joy is probably chairing the LEP, or as we now call it, the Business Board, which I get to work with Andy as Mayor and Bev as City Leader and some incredible female leaders that we have in the city and the city region, to make sure that the voice of business is always represented in how we shape policy and increasingly to talk about the innovation agenda. And then I have a new life now, because I thought maybe I'd retire for about 60 seconds, but I decided that really probably wasn't for me, and I can't bake. So I'm now most of my week building an innovation district. So basically King's Cross in the north of England, a project called ID Manchester that's going to be next to Piccadilly, which is our currently ill-fated, but still the most connected point in the north of England. So we're going to build out 4.5 million square feet to drive the UK's innovation agenda, but with a slight difference, as you would expect in Manchester. So we have a very clear innovation vision for our place that talks about taking the people and the planet with us. We neighbour the poorest communities in Greater Manchester. We have access through our partnership with the university to some of the greatest research assets in the UK, and we want to use that as a force for good, yes, to create economic growth and to scale our economy and to work hard for the UK and to make Europe the epicentre of the global innovation map, but actually to do that in a way that doesn't just benefit the people who've benefited from the last 20 years of innovation. So yeah, as my kids say, basically I just say the word innovation for a living is apparently all I do on all of those fronts. So as we're in Manchester, I thought I might just talk a little bit about Manchester's innovation moment. For anybody who knows anything about the city or has studied it at school, then we have a long, very proud, long-standing history of innovation in this part of the world, from the incredible women who've led social and economic innovation, you know, the Pankhurst, which is a well-trodden story that we're still super proud of, eminent scientists like Dame Nancy Rothwell, who's one of our partners at the university on ID Manchester, And my personal creative hero, Vivienne Westwood, as a proud northern woman, a different kind of innovation, but pivoting in the middle of her life from being a teacher to being one of, you know, the world's most famous and most prolific fashion designers. So this incredible body of women that we've had driving our innovation agenda that's created this innovation legacy in Manchester. And I think what's fair to say now is we're striving for a very particular version of innovation and economic growth in Manchester. To quote Indro, social innovation and economic innovation, so not seeing those two things as exclusive from one another, but seeing those two things as hand in hand. And really for us, that's about learning from the mistakes actually of the last 20 years, understanding that trickle-down hasn't worked. We've still got huge levelling up challenges ourselves just in Greater Manchester, huge pockets of poverty, huge sections of society that don't see themselves as having the opportunity to enter some of the industries that we know are going to drive our future economy. So we have a very ambitious innovation agenda, but one that you know, to use Andy's words that got stolen by Labour, fairer, greener, we really want to use the next 20 years in a different way, in a way that works for all people and for the planet. So it's quite a moment, I would say, in Manchester's innovation journey. We've been working really hard since the pandemic, and as we went into the pandemic, we began with a piece of conceptual strategic work actually that recognised that life was never going to be the same on the other side of it. The challenge for business and for the economy was going to be unlike anything we'd ever seen before. And we wrote an innovation vision. It's called Innovation Greater Manchester. You may or may not have seen it. If you haven't seen it, all of this stuff is available. And really that became our vision for that type of growth, understanding that as a whole ecosystem, we need to think about Greater Manchester as an innovation opportunity. And as we headed into the pandemic, that for us was really our way of understanding that the challenge for business was going to be one that required an innovation solution, even if they didn't call it that, to get through it, to survive, and to survive the next 20 years. So that work ultimately led us to Innovation Accelerator status. I'll work with government now with Innovate UK as a city region, working with two other city regions, with Glasgow and the Midlands, across the UK to work out how innovation works in place. So we're right in the middle of that process, which is a massive journey for everybody. It's a completely different way for us to work with government, and with the support of many of the people who are here today, we're working our way through that. And then on top of that, just before Christmas, we launched with Indro and his team's help an MOU with Innovate UK as a city region. And that's so strategically significant for us. That takes that long-term view of going on that journey together to work out how innovation is going to work, how we're going to drive both economic and social innovation together. So I guess why is it important that we have women leaders in the innovation industry? Why are events like today important? Why should we pause and celebrate? And I think genuinely the answer to that is because if you're going to get innovation to work for all people, then there's got to be an opportunity for all people to participate and to drive that agenda. We've seen what happens when those perspectives and that insight isn't represented. We've seen what happens when those people are excluded from the process. So I think we know what works, and events like this today are about lifting everybody up to the table so that collectively we can drive that agenda. I thought I'd maybe just finish with a thought from my favourite innovator, Vivienne Westwood, who, as you all know, sadly passed away last year, leaving probably the greatest creative innovation legacy and any of us could have wished to leave behind. And you know, until her last few days, was still fighting for the social innovation that she still felt was needed in the UK and wider. She was guided, as you may or may not know, through her life by Taoism, which is a very particular belief and philosophy, which actually, if you've not delved into it, I would encourage you to do. And her last words actually were encouraging people to do that. And she would urge people around her to make full use of your character and your life on earth. And I really love that. I think that as a thought, I've thought a lot actually since she passed away. And I think really this strange word innovation, which doesn't always mean anything to anybody, but we kind of live with as a catch-all descriptor for what we're trying to collectively achieve. I think that's what it gives us, is that opportunity to maximise as women and as people in a society living together, maximise our positive impact on the world around us. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou, so much for that. A leader in Manchester, very proud about Manchester, and it's wonderful to hear that ambition for innovation in Manchester, and particularly, that working differently and the focus on not just economic innovation, but social innovation too. So Innovate UK, we're looking forward very much to taking forward that memorandum of understanding that we've got now with Manchester and seeing where we can take that. So thank you, a wonderful start, kick off to this event. I'd now like to introduce our next speaker, which is Izzy Obeng. So Izzy is the founder and CEO of an organisation called Foundervine, and she focuses on underrepresentation in tech. Last year, Izzy was celebrated as a Forbes 30 Under 30 for social impact. And Foundervine provides mentorship, training, and financial support for early stage companies. Izzy's going to be talking to us about her experiences, her journey, and the theme for her talk is actually seasons, which we'll find out more about. So Izzy, please join us on stage. Hi, everyone. Oh, gosh, we're going to do that again. Hi, everyone. Hi. There we go. Thank you so much for having me today. It's really wonderful to be here on International Women's Day, which is one of my favourite days of the year, and stood before such brilliant women and men in this room who are doing such amazing things. So before I begin what I'm going to say, I'd love us to give ourselves a round of applause for turning up today. So, I turn 30 this week. Yeah. I know, I don't look a day over 21, do I? But I do. And as I turn 30, I've been thinking a lot, as Emily mentions, about seasons. It has been a really interesting decade for me in terms of my 20s. I've had a lot of brilliant things happen in life. The opportunity to build a relatively successful company so far in a space I'm really passionate about. I've sat on boards, I've traveled, I've lived, I've done lots of awesome stuff. But I've also had a lot of quite difficult things happen in this decade that have shaped me and that have made me who I am today. I think about the interesting season of change that's happening for a lot of high-profile women in our society at the moment, from Nicola Sturgeon, deciding that she just didn't have everything to give to her career as she did before, or Jacinda Ardern stepping down as Prime Minister of New Zealand, saying she just didn't have enough in the tank anymore, or Susan Wojcicki, CEO of YouTube, stepping down after 9 years at the helm. I think it's really, really important to recognize the season that we're in. These women have had a lot of opinions, a lot of criticism of these decisions, but ultimately it's really important for us to know that season and to act accordingly. We owe it to ourselves to work harder on us at any given moment than we're working on anything else. I really do believe that. To understand the season that we're in so we can anticipate rather than react to what life brings. And we're all leaders in this room in different ways. And some of you might be thinking, I'm not quite a leader yet, but you are. It has nothing to do with your authority or your position or what you do. It's about the influence you have to change something, and every single one of us in this room has the ability to change. Much like the changing seasons, sometimes we're sowing, sometimes we're reaping. Sometimes we are full of energy, and sometimes we just have to say we don't have enough in the tank. And when you know you're on a unique journey and you're able to plan for it, you realize just how much of a waste of time it is to compare yourself to others, and how much room we have to innovate on this system we have called our minds. We can destroy it through fear and self-doubt, but through thinking that we don't deserve to be in a room or we don't
deserve to take up the space that we take. I grew up in a part of London where a lot of people had an incredible amount of potential, but often didn't really have the opportunity to realize it, to find meaningful work, to finish education, to live a life that was more than what was thought for someone like them. And I've been doing what I do for long enough now that I realize that all of us have something within us that wants to make the world a better place, and we just need the opportunity to do so. As entrepreneurs, as innovators, as creators, we have the power to shape how we see the world. We can see the problems that we face as fuel for growth. Every challenge we face, even though we know we're not going to be perfect when we turn up, and I'm not perfect right now, but showing up anyway is the most important step. I lead Foundervine. We're an organization that's been on a mission these last 5 years. We're on a mission to remove the social and economic barriers to innovation. At Foundervine, we've launched accelerators in the UK that support early-stage companies, providing entrepreneurs from underserved backgrounds with opportunities through mentorship, training, access to capital. And by last year, we'd helped over 5,000 leaders build the skills that they needed to grow, and over 350 businesses to start, scale, and raise millions in capital. And it all started at 23. As a black woman, as a working class girl from a council flat in Tottenham, as a child of immigrant parents. Lots of things happen in our lives, I realize, that make us think we don't deserve to be in the spaces that we're in, and I've definitely been there a lot of times. Things people say, things people do, how you're received, they all have an impact. And when I'm discriminated against or doubted, I often remember a quote from Zora Neale Hurston. She once said, "Sometimes I feel discriminated against, but it doesn't make me angry. It merely astonishes me. How can anyone deny the pleasure of my company?" I want us all to feel what I've just said, because it's so important that we claim our seat at the table. Don't wait to be asked to sit down. To realize that you are the only person in that room that has your unique perspective, your unique experiences, and that's been through what you've been through, and that makes you pretty special. In every season that we're in, whether it's just starting a business or going through a major health challenge or becoming a new mum or being more or less financially stable, whatever you're going through, that's fueling your growth. And only you have the power to choose how you approach that season and how you come out of it. No one else. So in closing, I want to leave you with this thought. As women leaders, remember that it's all of us that have the power to shape our own destiny. And it all starts with our mindset. When we choose to innovate on that system we call our minds, we become unstoppable. So let's embrace every season of life, knowing that it's our mindset that will help us sow and reap in equal measure. I really want to congratulate all of the women who have received the Women in Innovation Award today. And I congratulate everyone in this room for showing up in your lives, your workplaces, your families, and choosing to be resilient across your own seasons. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Izzy. And now, I get the seasons analogy now. Brilliant, brilliant. And I loved what you said about the collective power that we have in this room. It's so, so true. And together, I think, we really are unstoppable. So, thank you for that. Brilliant. Okay, now I would like to introduce the Chief Executive Officer of Innovate UK, Indro Mukherjee, to say a few words. So we hear a lot about the importance of leaders, the role of leaders in driving change in organisations. From day one of Indro joining Innovate UK, he made his feelings very clear about his commitments, his passion around fairness, equality and diversity. And from day one, he's been challenging us as an organisation to do more. He has been personally involved in driving the change inside the organisation, and he's empowering people like me to get on and do the job as well as we can. So I'm sure you're going to hear that yourself in terms of what he's going to say next. But yeah, Indro, please come and join me.
Thank you very much indeed, Emily. Thank you, all of you, for being here. Thank you for being so brilliant. Thank you for being our Women in Innovation. And thank you to all the team that's arranged this event today. And I really think that we should give them a round of applause because this is a magnificent event. And thank you also very much to our BSL sign interpreters who are doing this job here. I hope I don't give you too much trouble in what I'm about to talk about. So, Innovate UK, first of all, we are the beating heart of innovation in the UK. We support up and down the country, across every single sector that we have in the UK, and we support the innovation journey from start-up to scale-up. And we do that through grants and loans, but we also do that through advice, through encouragement, through assistance to raise money, through help with skills development, and through programs like this, which are so fundamental to the innovation nation, to the economy, the society that we would like to see be created here in the UK. This Women in Innovation programme is so important to us, and it forms one of the bedrock of many programmes that we undertake to support something that we're very passionate about. In order to do what we want to do in the UK, in order to fulfil our innovation ambitions, we need the skills to be able to fulfil those ambitions. Today, we have a skills gap. That skills gap actually is increasing, and in fact, the more successful we all are, the greater the skills gap will become. Now, it's fantastic to be welcoming, and I think we should be more welcoming, to more and more people from other countries to come and work here. So we want those people. But we cannot possibly expect to fill our skills gap by only having people from other countries. So what we need to do as smart people, I hope as compassionate people as well, but let's be smart as well as being compassionate. To do the right thing for our economy, we need to be able to unleash the talent and potential that is already here. We already have the talent and potential. The point is that we've not recognized it, we've not welcomed it. We've not welcomed it as much as we should do. We've not given it the encouragement. And so programs like this are so important to all of us in terms of that journey, to be able to fulfill, to be able to build a skills pipeline that's going to be able to get us where we need to get to as a nation. And so all of us in this room, all of you who are successful people, should also become ambassadors for that. And we need more and more people from diverse backgrounds to come into this environment. Innovate UK works on the basis of 3 axes. We have domains where we offer capability, know-how, and connections across the main domains of net zero, healthy living agriculture, digital and technologies. And of course, each of those domains is divided into many, many subdomains. So amongst our system, we have some of the most brilliant people on the planet to be able to help with those areas. The second axis is a very broad array of products and services that we have that covers everything from low technology readiness levels, pretty much almost science levels where things are about to go into commercialization, all the way through to very high technology readiness levels where we're talking about quite complex manufacturing, production, go-to-market, services, customers, stuff like that. And so we cover everything in between. And the third axis is the axis of place. And as you heard clearly from Lou, we are very much focused on working in partnership with brilliant people like Lou and others around the country so that we can deliver our support in a focused way to the way that the local needs need it. And in order to do that, you need to be humble, you need to listen, you need to tune in to somebody. Not to say, I am coming to help you and control the terms. Help means to do something that helps somebody else on their terms. And so to do that, you have to listen. And so I want to come back to this point about listening, because as we build our economy, as we build our productivity, as we build our skills, as we build our society, we need to listen and tune in. This whole journey, the journey that Izzy so brilliantly talked about a second ago, is all about understanding the other person. So there's this phrase that says, you need to be in someone else's shoes. Well, we can't always literally be in everybody's shoes. I don't think you'd want to walk in my shoes, and I probably wouldn't want to walk in some of your shoes. I wouldn't be able to. But what I can do is to ask you what you think it's like to be in your shoes. And you can ask me what I think it's like to be in my shoes. And we can understand each other's shoes. And we can respect each other's shoes. And a lot of our journey together is about that respect, understanding what it's like to work with the other person. Because innovation is about diversity. If you only have the same kinds of people, you'll only get the same results. And therefore, by definition, it's not innovative. So to be an innovative organization, to be an innovative economy, to be an innovative society, we have to understand the other person and embrace their ideas, embrace their point of views. I think that in that way, we can understand each other better and help each other better. So I don't know what it's like to be a woman, but I do know what it's like to be a person from a mixed-race environment, born in the UK, growing up in the 60s and 70s, having seen the best of this country, but also occasionally the worst of this country. I know what it's like to come from an economically challenged background, one that you wouldn't guess by listening to my developed over the years accent. And I know what it's like to see my parents suffer and work very hard and sometimes be abused for doing nothing else than just existing. And feeling that for myself. So my journey and my reason, or one of my principal reasons for taking this job, was to use a platform. All of you have a platform. You're all successful, powerful people who have been going through that journey and are at a particular stage. So all of us here in this room should use our platform to encourage others who may be, in many cases, way more brilliant than us, certainly way more brilliant than me, way more deserving than us, certainly way more deserving than me, and who are the future of this country if we allow them to be. And that happens if we give them the confidence, if we give them the sense of being welcome. And that is true for women in innovation, but it's also true of many, many other lenses of diversity that we need to embrace. So today is about celebrating you and everything that you've done. And then from tomorrow, perhaps you'll join us in helping all the other people who are not in this room today. Because they're the ones that we want to come back and be in this room today. So it's so fitting that we have some of the young people who we hope are our future leaders, who we hope are our future leaders for this science innovation community that we're in, but also in other areas too. And so if all of you can use your voice, can use your power, can use your confidence to do that, I think we can help our economy and society grow in the way that it needs to. I don't know how many of you would ever feel that you didn't belong somewhere. I didn't know how many of you would ever feel that you were uncertain about things. I still have this thing about the bread rolls at posh dinners. So today I go to lots and lots of posh dinners. I was at one the other night where there was a menu actually with my name on it. So there was in some fancy place And I look at that sometimes and think, my God, what would my mum and dad think if they saw this? And I've still got this thing about the bread roll, and is it this one or that one? And you just get a bit of... All of us have our version of that bread roll. All of us have our version of not wanting to look out of place. All of us have our version of not wanting to appear like we don't belong. So imagine how fantastic our economy and society would be if those elements went away and people could be who they are, who they want to be, and we just embrace them for who they are. And that's the journey that I think all of us are on, and that's the journey that we are trying to do our bit to help, because we believe there is a fundamental correlation between that liberation and a successful innovation-based economy. Because an innovation-based economy needs liberation, it needs freedom, it needs rock and roll. So we need to liberate people to feel that they can rock and roll, be themselves, and be the brilliant innovators that this country needs. And that's going to be an economic benefit to all of us, and it's going to be the greatest justification for the public money that we spend through our organisation. So thank you so much again for being who you are. Thank you for being here. Thank you for our team, our brilliant team, who works so hard to do all the things that we do to support, because we do it for the reasons that I said. And from tomorrow, please join us in being ambassadors for diversity from this lens, this very important lens, but also many other lenses too. Because all of you can have that one thing in common, that you all have that confidence, that platform, and the community that we'd like to build together to do this. So thank you very much, and I wish you a good day ahead.
Thank you very much, Indro. See, I told you, he's committed, he's passionate, you heard it, it's true. So thank you for obviously talking about the importance of innovation, UK's Innovation Agency, yeah, but we get that. Thank you for saying how diversity in innovation is not just important, but essential. Thank you for being open and honest about your story and your background. And thank you for telling us about bread rolls as well. We'll take that away. So brilliant. Thank you very much. Now, what I would like to do now, if it works, is play a little video to really show a story of women in innovation and a bit of a celebration of the programme.
In 2016, Innovate UK found that just 1 in 7 of our innovation funding applicants were women. Determined to change this, we launched the Women in Innovation programme to provide tailored business support and funding for women who are going beyond boundaries, creating new, innovative businesses and fueling economic growth while addressing pressing societal and environmental challenges. Since then, we've awarded a total of £7.6 million to 152 incredible women, working alongside the UK Business Angels Association to foster a more gender-diverse investment ecosystem in the UK. Our winners receive a £50,000 grant, plus one-to-one business coaching and mentoring. But these remarkable women are just the start. A big part of what we're doing with the programme is promoting new role models and inspiring the next generation. Our installation of purple plaques at schools across the UK has been celebrating the achievements of our award winners and spotlighting them as role models. And our ongoing partnership with Founders for Schools is enabling our Women in Innovation community to inspire students up and down the country. And there's more. From our webinar series, Women in Innovation, Let's Talk About, to our annual International Women's Day celebrations, we've been actively building a new community of over 9,000 women innovators. This has enabled us to start powerful conversations, share stories, and provide inspirational advice from women and their allies at the heart of the discussion. Since launching the Women in Innovation programme, we've seen the number of women applying for innovation funding grow by 70%. More broadly, the UK is seeing more women than ever starting new businesses. Around 20% of all new firms are now led by women. But we know there's more to do to encourage more diverse role models and to unlock the power of untapped talent across the country. That's why our commitment to equality, diversity and inclusion is embedded in all we do at Innovate UK, and it's an integral part of our plan for action for UK business innovation. To find out more or to get involved with the Women in Innovation programme, head to our website.
So, in that video, you'll have seen some faces in the room, actually, and I was looking at people as they were being shown on the video. Part of being part of Women in Innovation, if you're an award winner, is that your face is used for these sorts of purposes. So, get used to it, I would say. That's a bit about the story of Women in Innovation and where we are. And today, it's a great day because we are announcing 50 new award winners for Women in Innovation, many of whom are in the room here today, and some I know weren't able to be here in person but have joined online. So first of all, huge congratulations to our 50 new award winners, and can we give a round of applause? So this group has women who represent all parts of the UK, and it's a really diverse group of women from lots and lots of different backgrounds. We're really proud of the achievements of this group. You should be incredibly you should feel incredibly proud yourselves of getting to this point. It's an incredibly competitive process for the awards, and you've done incredibly well. So it's absolutely brilliant, and it's a great day to be able to announce you as winners. So stories of all 50 of our award winners are on the website for Women in Innovation. So please do go and check that out and read about all of our winners and their work, their innovations, their businesses, their plans for the future. Since we started the programme, we've learnt a lot and we've made improvements along the way, but there's still more improvements that we need to make. So a couple of things I just want to flag. You know, we have got representation of award winners in every part of the UK now. That's really brilliant, but we still see quite a skew in some regions where we have much larger numbers of award winners, and we want to do more to get those regions that currently we don't have larger numbers getting more involved and finding more women in those regions. So that's a priority for us. The other thing that I would like to say is that although, again, we've got great ethnic diversity within the group of award winners that we're working with, we still are struggling with black women, and I want to see more black women being successful with the programme going forward. So that's got to be another real priority for us. But despite that, you know, they're areas that we've definitely got to make some improvements on, but we've got some wonderful success stories, and the improvements we've made so far are making a difference. So that's the announcement of the winners, and what I'd like to do now is introduce our panel session. So we need to set up some chairs for the panel session, which I think are coming into the room right now. And while we're doing that, I will just say a few words about the panel itself. So this is the first panel of the day, and the title of the panel discussion is Innovation as a Force for Good. And on the panel, we're going to have some of our very new award winners that have been announced today. And the moderator for the panel is Rida El-Sai, who is the founder of an organisation called BrainSpark. And Rida is one of our Women in Innovation Award winners from last year. So here comes the table. Rida, would you like to come up here and get us started on the panel?
Welcome everyone, and happy International Women's Day to you all, and thank you to all the men, the boys, the girls, the women that are championing women across the world. I'm going to pretend this is not happening, so I'm going to try to keep your focus over here. As Emily mentioned, my name is Rida El-Sai. I'm the founder of BrainSpark Games. I was a winner of the Women in Innovation Award for this previous year, and I have to say it has been utterly transformative. We've subsequently won 4 additional Innovate UK grants. So yes, thank you, Innovate UK. And without the support of Innovate UK, I just don't know if our company would have continued. To give you a bit of background, I come from a socio-economically deprived area in East London. I was the 7th of 9 children. I had 4 older brothers, so I was able to talk over lots of loud noise. So that's really, really helped me in my journey. And I never thought that I would be doing what I'm doing now. I've inadvertently become a founder of an edtech gaming studio. I'm terrible at games. I know very little about technology, but I didn't let that stop me. BrainSpark is building an eduverse of free, culturally inclusive, 3D, open world, immersive educational games fully aligned with the UK national curriculum. We're multi-award winning, and just this morning we had a post that we've also been selected by Holland IQ, which is the world's most prestigious edtech platform that showcases the fastest growing edtech solutions out there. Yes, thank you. And I don't think any of that recognition, validation, acknowledgement would have happened without Innovate UK championing us. And I know there's lots of awardees here today, and I've had the pleasure of meeting some of you. And some of the questions that I've been asked, in terms of, what tips would you give and that sort of thing. Innovate UK mentors, monitoring officers, the team, they'll make assumptions about the support that you need, but unless you tell them what you need for them, and I literally went to them with a wish list, it's like magic happens. Like, you have no idea what they can do, and they are your greatest, most powerful champions. So really, really use this opportunity to embrace that as much as possible. So the noise has stopped. I will stop speaking now, and I will invite my fellow panelists to join me on stage. So welcome, and it's my tremendous pleasure to introduce some of our awardees for this year. So I'm going to ask each of our panelists to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about their company. So I'll start with Abby Lawrence, who is the founder of Consumer Insights Lab, followed by Chantel App from Click and Clear, Tammy Banks from Tay Training, and Dr. Penny Trainer from Goal Manager. So over to you, Abby.
Okay. Hi. Is my mic working? Can you hear me? Okay. Hello? No? Okay, I'll take this mic. Oh, that's loud. Hi, I'm Dr. Abby Lawrence, and I'm the founder of Consumer Insights Lab. I'm also its lead researcher. I originally was a graphic designer. I went on to complete a STEM PhD, which I have now commercialized into the business we're talking about today, which is Consumer Insights Lab. What we do is we've developed a simulated environment to do user testing, so we maximize the salability of products for fast-moving consumer goods, SMEs, for their products before they launch, so being able to compete with larger corporations. I've lived in 7 different countries, but I've made the UK my home. I've made Wales, Cardiff my home. I've been there for over 10 years. I'm hugely passionate about sustainability and equality, and that is what feeds into the why of what I do. I'm an introvert. I'm a massive overthinker, and I'm too hard on myself all the time. That's me.
Oh, thank you. Should I go? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Chantal. So I kind of started my background in the music industry. I'm a music licensing professional, but also a world champion cheerleader previously. Not currently training because I've got a 5-month-old baby at the moment, and it's been a bit challenging trying to manage all of that. But yeah, that's kind of my background, and I also have a music production company that mixes music for cheer, dance and gymnastics. So a few years ago when Sony sued cheerleading, I was perfectly placed to create a solution to solve that music rights licensing issue on a global basis. And that's when I started Click and Clear, which is a music rights tech and licensing company servicing choreographed sports, so sports like dance, gymnastics, figure skating, and of course cheerleading. And we work directly with the major and independent record labels and music publishers, got deals in place now with almost 1,000 labels and publishers, and we're clearing the unique specialist rights that the sports need in order to accompany their routines. And then we've also complement that with a suite of technology from rights management, licensing platform, and license verification technology to enable those sports to legally license music and also ensure that the creators are rightfully paid for their work. The music industry has often been a victim of technology, and I think there's about a $100 billion monetization gap between music and its other entertainment peers like gaming and film and TV. And I believe that through technology we can unlock these untapped markets to help close that monetization gap and bring new revenue into the music industry to get artists paid. That's me.
I'm not sure. Shall I give it a go? Is my mic working?
Yeah, I think
fantastic. A success. Brilliant. Thank you. My name is Tammy Banks. I'm really excited to be here and really grateful for Izzy's words earlier because feeling a complete imposter. Everybody's talking about tech and innovation, and that's not me. I know nothing about tech. I run a company called Tay Training and Consultancy, and we offer a business solution to a social justice problem. I've worked within criminal justice, statutory and local authority, kind of frontline services for the last 15 years. And I did that after using those frontline services. Those frontline services saved my life when I was a child. I suffered a lot of harm, abuse, neglect, and then lived 4 years street homeless. Moving into the services, the people working on the front line, they were the ones that gave me hope. They were the ones that gave me opportunity. They were the ones that actually enabled me to have some equity alongside kind of from an environment perspective and a connection perspective. So I love frontline services. I think the people who are out there within the police service, within the NHS, within charities, they are working with us all of the time, and they are helping us at our most vulnerable and helping our most vulnerable people. So Tay Training Consultancy is actually a creative solution, and I'm grateful for Innovate UK recognising kind of the innovation behind what we do. We've developed a transformational Train the Trainer programme that takes training and delivers it on a whole new level. It takes people who are experts either by lived experience or by professional experience. And we train them to really lean into their expertise and to deliver relatable and engaging and tailored equitable training that meets learning styles. But fundamentally, actually, everything that we do and everything that I talk about just comes from that values-led perspective, and from that really helping people be the very best they can be. And that's whether it's the facilitators that work for us with the lived experience, the delegates in the room that are the frontline professionals that nobody's thanked in a while, nobody's invested in, nobody's checked on their well-being. We do all of that in our training methodology. And then ultimately, it's about the people accessing those services. When you go to the doctors, if you need social care, if you're finding yourself in a hard time, you deserve to access really excellent frontline services. So our innovation's a bit different. It's not techie, and it's not kind of as exciting potentially and as fancy, but it's a business solution to a social justice problem.
Thank you, Tammy.
Okay, so hopefully, oh, I am mic'd up. I'm quite loud anyway, so it's difficult to tell. So I'm Dr. Penny Traynor. I'm a paediatric clinical neuropsychologist. So that's a clinical psychologist who has done additional training to specialise in treating people with neurological conditions. So for the past 14 years, I've specialised in providing brain injury rehabilitation to children and young people who've had catastrophic injuries to their brains. And given that this affects sort of millions of people, you think there'd be quite a few of us doing it. I think currently at last count in the UK, there's fewer than 50 of us. So not many of us at all. So it's meant that I've spent quite a lot the last 14 years of my career trying to innovate and find ways to make myself more available for my patients. And, you know, for background context, I'm not a techie person at all, I don't think. But I come from a long line of engineers who all are. So my father, my grandfather, my brothers, they're all engineers. I decided to work with people, and then here I find myself back working in technology. Because what we need to be doing in healthcare is leveraging technology, using it in the right way so that we can make services more efficient, so we free ourselves up and make ourselves more available to see our patients face to face, which is what people really want. So my innovation is something called Goal Manager, which I invented just before the pandemic actually, just to speed up what we were doing in our service. So it's kind of a workflow management tool for rehab, which you'd think would exist. But actually, if you have a catastrophic injury, or anyone that's ever used services will know that a lot of those services aren't joined together. Things aren't linked up. You have to wait for letters to be sent. Everything's kind of disconnected and nobody's really tracking it all. And so what I've done with Goal Manager is create a platform that does all of that and does it all automatically, kind of organises all that data and reports on it, so it frees us up as clinicians to be seeing people face to face. And this award is going to allow me to develop that a little bit further so that we'll be able to take a really deep dive into the data that's there and be able to design services that actually really work. There's so many unanswered questions. And I'm a brain injury specialist, but actually it works for any health condition requiring rehab. So it could be cardiac problems, it could be respiratory problems, it could be stroke. And I think at last count, the World Health Organization estimated about 3.4 billion people around the world have difficulties that would benefit from rehab. So there's a lot of people out there. So hopefully this is the start, and like Rida says, hopefully this is going to enable me to do that and spend more time with my patients. So, and I just want to say congratulations to all the winners in the room that I know are here. It's been a massive journey, and just, yeah, I'm feeling super proud, and we should all feel really proud of what we've achieved. So thank you.
So you've all briefly touched upon why you've developed your innovation, but I think what would be really interesting to understand is, like, what is the impact that you want to have? So you've got the support from Innovate UK and this program, which really will be transformative. But starting with you, Penny, what is the impact that you really want to have in terms of your business?
Yeah, so I mean, really what I'd like to see is health services just being a lot more efficient. I am a current user of health services and have found the usual delays, you know, being at hospital appointments for 4.5 hours while people are trying to log on and trying to get systems to work. I spoke to a colleague last week who says he has to click through 5 times before he's able to send a letter to his secretary now, whereas previously we just used to give it to them, and you know, there was all of that human connection, which we've kind of lost. So I think it is about my impact really on the wider scale is enabling clinicians to realise, and service users to realise, that we have the solutions to a lot of these problems. I think part of the problem in healthcare is that big tech companies, and no disrespect to any of them if they're here, they don't necessarily know what's needed on the ground, and so often solutions are imposed on us that aren't fit for purpose. But if we can actually reach out to other clinicians, find ways of them realising support is available, you can find the time to do this, then we can work in partnership with our service users and design the best services. So it's about, yeah, empowering us to be able to do more of those things.
And what sort of impact will that have on the children and young people that you work with? Will it sort of have any kind of relationship on?
well, hopefully we'll be able to see more of them, because I have to say that actually prior to inventing Goal Manager, probably the majority of my time was spent on admin, which certainly is not why I became a psychologist. I'm pretty sure it's not why anyone becomes a health professional. So we want to flip that on its head so that we're spending less time on admin, our admin systems are taken care of. It's phenomenal that you get more kind of processing power through Trello or Monday.com or any of these other kind of workflow management systems, Slack, which are really common in industry, don't exist in healthcare. So if we can bring that in and make design solutions that are fit for our need, then we're going to be much more available to our patients.
Great, thank you, Penny. And Tammy, what's the impact that you want to have with your company?
So I build on exactly what Penny's saying here. I want our frontline services to be more effective and more efficient, and not only to be able to see more people so that there's less waiting lists, but actually the services they provide to be fantastic, to be really high class, to be really values led, to be really equitable, and to be really accessible. I really want to close that gap between kind of us and them, because actually people, all of us are users of services at some point, and our complex needs, our vulnerabilities, our environment, some things that actually we really have no control. We do have, all of us in this room have a level of relative privilege. When I was living homeless, yes, it was absolutely awful, but I was still living homeless in the UK. I was still white. I still, on my 16th birthday, could move into a homeless hostel. So there's a relative privilege around kind of all of this. And so the impact from my innovation, or the way that we've created it, is really similar to what Penny just said here, is people quite often put upon frontline organisations and say, this is going to solve the problem. And we see the same thing every 10 years in a little bit of a circle. And actually it's about really being in those frontline services and saying, what's going to solve the problem? So they haven't got any more time. Austerity measures and pressure on our frontline workers, our social workers and our charity workers and our teachers. You just need to look at the strikes. The austerity measures, the pressure that's on them to deliver more, but they're not being invested in, they're not being thanked, they're not being upskilled, and nobody's actually asking them about their well-being. And there's a fine line between being a service user and a service provider. So if we really invest in our frontline workers, they will deliver better services. So my innovation, Training for Influence, is a creative solution, because there is no more time, there is no more money, so let's have a look at what we can do with what we've already got. And actually, all of these people have to attend mandatory training. Unfortunately, over the last 15 years, it's turned into a bit of a tick box exercise. There's a lot of e-learning out there, or people turning up and kind of really not wanting to engage. Training for Influence is transformational training, so it's trauma-informed, it's relatable, it's engaging, it's delivered by somebody with lived experience, it's equitable, it covers learning styles, and somebody within that training session walks out not only with the skills they need that are related to whatever the subject is, but also feeling really good about their vocation and their values, and re-inspired and re-motivated. So I want to see a change in the way services are delivered, but also the way that we invest in and recognise and support and value our frontline workers. And then for me, the training methodology is suitable for anybody delivering training anywhere. So none of us should have to go to a training session where we're bored to tears, doing our shopping list or looking out the window, because we can do better.
Wonderful, thank you. Chantal?
Yeah, so I'm going to take a step out of health-related frontline and move into the creative industries. So yeah, with my innovation, really, the focus is to help sports currently, to help sports ensure that they can get music legally. I mentioned cheerleading was sued, but also figure skating at the Winter Olympics also suffered a lawsuit. And multiple sports are having this issue, and it's hindering them from being able to grow participation and engagement through online methods, because they also can't then get the online rights that they need. Additionally, the music industry is often underfunded, or the creative industries as a whole is often underfunded. It is a struggle to get investment, it's a struggle to get grant funding for creative industries, and so we need to innovate in that area in order to get new revenue into that industry. But of course, they've been a little bit reluctant when it comes to technology. And then you throw on intellectual property rights, which in itself is incredibly complicated. Copyright law is one of the oldest IP laws that exist. And music in particular is incredibly fragmented. You look at one hit song can have 9 to 10 different owners. And the traditional licensing process, you need to ask permission from each and every owner of that song, no matter if they own 0.5% or 10% or 50%, every single person needs to say yes before you can actually legally use that music. And that's just not feasible when sports need over 1 billion licenses a year. I then want to take what we've got and actually apply that to other intellectual property rights as well, because creatives like to use other creative people's music and also content, digital media, and so on. And I think there really needs to be a sort of a way to easily find who owns that content, easily license that content for a number of different use cases, and then a way to actually verify that and enforce that so that we can tackle copyright infringement.
Amazing, fantastic. And Abby, we're going to pull you out of your shell.
Thank you. Is it working? Nope. Okay, back to the mic. So my innovation started with my PhD, where I pursued the research because I wanted to affect change within an industry that I saw was largely unbalanced. So this is the food and drink industry, where big corporations have access to the top methodologies, expertise, and facilities. And that's great, but it means that about, well, the 80% of the industry that's made up by SMEs don't have access to these really advantageous methods of research. So what this looks like for a corporate, it might look like a fixed facility. So it's a room that's made to look like a supermarket. And then you get your shoppers in and you do the research so that you know how people react to your product before you launch. For the SMEs, the market standard would be either online focus groups or, online surveys or focus groups. And there's a space for that, but unfortunately, so there's a stat about focus groups, so 80% of services and products that are vetted through focus groups fail within the first year. And that's something an SME can't afford. So about research has shown that 75% of businesses in the UK waste on average 14% of their revenue on poor quality data. And we are really trying to change this and provide high quality, high-end insights for the smaller companies and give them the same competitive advantage as the large corporations are getting. And so with the PhD, we developed a simulated reality lab. So it's a 200-degree wraparound screen in a blacked out room. And we control things like, a broader demographic, so that we can increase representation from people of all backgrounds, and so that we can improve designs in all aspects, so that we can have more inclusive products at the end.
Wonderful, thank you. I think what's really lovely for me personally is I was also an assessor for this year's Women in Innovation, so I actually assessed Abby's before I knew her. There's no conflict of interest. Application, so it was really lovely to see her here today. And I think what's really exciting about the work that you're doing is that actually, in short, that research that's accessible to SMEs will ensure a stronger product market fit as they grow. And I think that's really, really important, really exciting. So I think what we'd really be interested to hear about is the challenges that we face as female founders, and maybe given, Chantal, you're in a really exciting, really niche, complex area, it'd be great to find out a little bit more about your own sort of experiences.
Yes, so I work across 4 male-dominated industries: music, sport, tech, and investment. I mean, I really couldn't have picked, but I think it kind of goes to show still the situation that we are in. Only 2% of VC funding goes to female-led companies or a company that has a female on board. I'm actually a sole founder, so that is a challenge in itself, and I look very young. I am also under 30, and I have often been not taken as seriously as other people may do. But certainly in those conversations with investors, they often believe that the old white male in the room is actually the founder and not myself. He's very quick to put them straight, and he's very supportive of women, as all of my investors are. But also, I think the other challenge is the investment landscape is very much male-led, so a lot of the investment firms are all filled with men. Same with angel investment. There's just not as many women who I think are in that upper echelon and have that have the funds to then be distributing to other female founders. Up until January last year, I had 5 angel investors, all called Dave. So I don't know what it is about Dave, because also Innovate UK have given me 2 more Daves to add to my list. I looked at my emails. A third of my emails this morning were from Daves. Yeah. So.
I think the raising awareness of the fact that there is less funding for female founders and women of diverse heritage. Have you seen any kind of shift in that as well?
Yeah, I think there is really a big change, and I think there's no better time than now to be a female in this kind of space. Awards like this are hugely helpful in terms of raising awareness of women and the innovation they can bring to the world. And so, yeah, it is absolutely changing, and we were actually able to secure VC funding, so we are part of that 2%.
Well done you, yeah. So Abby, can you share some of your highs and lows? Like, we all know how tough it is, and Chantal sort of alluded to this, that it's a real challenge whether you're a solo founder or a co-founder. That entrepreneurial journey is really, really difficult at times. So can you share some of your highs and lows?
Yeah, of course. There are a lot of highs and lows. A lot of people say it's like a roller coaster, and so I'm going to really use this metaphor. So I'm going to start with the lows and then work up to the highs, and then how I cope a little bit. So there are the obvious highs and lows of big achievements and big failures. One of my biggest lows was around this time last year. I started working with this really exciting new company. We were about quarter way through the project when it was canceled on us by forces beyond both of our control. And this was really devastating because we are a natural growth company, so we're bootstrapping, and it meant that not only was this a huge case study that we couldn't use anymore, but it was a loss of income as well. So that's a big, obvious low. But I think it's really important to talk about the overarching lows that we might all experience, the unquantifiable lows. And in my case, in particular, it's the negative internal monologue that's constantly there, but also the sense of loneliness, because I am also a sole founder. So to address the loneliness, I started the business in 2020 in the middle of lockdown, alone in my room, and I realized that I didn't have any friends or family who have started a business or had a business, and I realized really quickly that I needed to change that. So it took about 2 years, but I reached out to different programs, different accelerator cohorts, and I slowly built up that network, and that has been really, really great. So I was on the Young Innovators Award program last year, and that's how I transitioned into Women in Innovation this year. But one of the women that I met on Young Innovators is also a Women in Innovation this year, and it was great to have met her because we helped each other along this journey so much, and we applied for Women in Innovation together. We helped each other prep for the interview. We went through each other's presentations, and she's here today, and it's been so nice to grow with people around me who are going through the same thing. Negative internal monologue. So this is something I think a lot of people face. As a founder of a company, there's a lot of pressure on us already, and we're really good at adding on that pressure unnecessarily. And especially because we're all very goal-oriented people, we are quick to achieve something, but then forget about it because we're moving on to the next thing. And so another person that I met through the Young Innovator Award program, she taught me something really important. And she said, take time at the end of your day just to write down one achievement. And that means that by the end of the week or the month or the year, you can look back at all of the progress that you've made every day, bit by bit. And that's really changed the way that I see myself. Before, I'd have huge achievements and I just forget and I just think, oh, I'm not getting anything done. So this then leads to my most recent high, which is we exhibited at our first expo at the Smart Retail Tech Show in London. And that was a huge success because it was, it showed me a huge shift in my mindset where I felt that all of the work that I'd put into this was valuable now. Well, it was always valuable, but it was valuable enough to share with people that I could add value to the business economy. Right, notes, sorry. So what I'm trying to say with all of
Yeah, thank you, Rita. It's interesting when I listen to both Abby and Chantal, though, just you know, I align with what you're saying. You know, that internal monologue that you have to fight against constantly, and Izzy talking about it earlier, Ivor, and then yeah, the funding stuff. Do you know, I think they are the business challenges that come along with kind of being a woman within this space. I certainly kind of overanalyze things. I certainly always want to do my very best. And I'm really quite comfortable within kind of frontline services from a statutory and a charitable perspective. I'm used to being there. Do you know, I'm unfortunate enough to work in Parliament and, you know, assess and adjudicate complaints made about MPs. So I'm used to being in male-dominated spaces. But put me in business and suddenly I feel like somebody's pulled the rug from under me because it's not my comfort zone. And we've created this innovation that is, I can't believe how simple it is. I can't believe, because it's what I'm used to. And we've created a trainer qualification that is truly transformational and takes something that is happening everywhere all of the time, training, and makes it so much better for the individuals attending it. And it's the first one worldwide that's been created from a perspective of actually really investing in the people in the room, irrelevant of the subject, as people, and as recognising them for kind of the power that they hold. And that's not just for frontline services, that's scalable for training everywhere. However, in a business world, I struggle, I lose my voice, I look round for the Daves, I look round for the, do you know, and I've actually, really honestly, I've got a friend called David who's fantastic.
People.
Yeah, but he did a TED talk called The Fight for Fairer Funding that said more people called Dave or David receive funding each year than women combined.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, do you know, and so I am so grateful for this programme because I'm hoping that it... Honestly, let's all change our name. No, I'm only kidding. I'm really grateful for this programme, for Innovate UK believing in us, giving us this opportunity, but also the connections that we're going to make to kind of grow together, because my challenge in the business world is being able to talk the business language, is being able to show people that what we've got is absolutely transformative, and to know how to make that next step to scale. And so I'm just really looking forward to being surrounded by wonderful people to help with that.
And I think that's what's really unique about this program in particular, that you will get that mentoring, and I think you'll be shocked with just the sheer amount of support and people who are willing to help. And it will not only sort of increase your confidence, your network, your commercial skills, your soft and your harder skills. I mean, I've just finishing the program as part of the Innovate Edge Investability program, and I've deliberately avoided raising investment until this year, so we're just about to do that now. And it's just a really great way to end the program, because you go through so much growth, and I think you're no longer, you know, alone, the isolation. You have this tribe of like-minded female founders, but also the team behind Innovate UK. It really is so different to any other program, so I'm really excited for all of you. But just sort of building on that note around resilience, courage, and overcoming those failures and learning from those successes. It'd be great to get some insight from you, Penny, given your background. So we're going to ask you to put your professional hat on as well. How do you cope with, you know, building that courage, building that resilience, and are they the right terms?
Yeah, I might answer this question sort of slightly differently. I really do challenge sometimes the notion of resilience. My concern is, and I think we all need to be cautious, that when we're asking people to be more resilient, what we're asking them sometimes is to put up with unacceptable circumstances. You know, I have no experience in the business world whatsoever. Some of these terms, bootstrapping, angels, I'm like, wow. It's, you know, I'm a clinician through and through, and I just had a good idea for something that was really going to benefit services, and so I went ahead and did it, and I funded it through my own practice. You know, I didn't have any notion that there was any other support, so it came as a great surprise to realize that all these barriers do exist. I mean, not a surprise, actually, it just came. So I think we just need to be very cautious when we're talking about resilience, that we're not, I'll come on to talk about some things that I found helpful, but I think, you know, if you find yourself working in a situation that is stressful, unacceptable, where you're subject to harassment or bullying or not being respected or not being valued, actually, it's not you that needs to change, it's the situation that needs to change. And I just think we need to be cautious about resilience is everywhere now. Every other training course is on resilience. So I would just think we just need to really think about, is it the environment around us and the structures and support mechanisms around us, or is it something that we need to change? Having said that, you know, I qualified as a clinical psychologist when I was 27. I was out there doing parenting courses in the community in some of the most challenging parts of Manchester, talking to parents who were maybe, you know, double my age maybe, about good childcare practices and looking after their mental well-being. I'm feeling very much like an imposter, but actually, what I've always tried to do, and I find this really helpful, is all of that kind of worry that am I getting it right, or that angst about do I know enough, I've always tried to channel it into just trying to find out as much as I possibly can about whatever it is that I'm doing, or getting the support and help around me that can give me that knowledge and skill and support. Because that way, you know, you sort of channel any of that worry, any of that stress into just being better at what you do. So, you know, I really think I am a good clinician. I do my very best by my patients, and it comes from a place of being worried that I won't be doing my very best. So I'm always looking and striving to do better, but also, like you say, congratulating yourself along the way, making sure that you actually celebrate those little wins, because, you know, they're not little wins, they're wins. We just need to label them as they are. It is a challenging world out there. All of us just sat here, how much we've had to go through just to be here. We really do need to celebrate that. So rather than seeing it, you know, anxiety as a bad thing, I think it's just your body's way, or the universe's way of letting you know that something means something to you. So just channeling it that way and changing that narrative in your head around it, I think can be really, really helpful.
Fantastic. And I think we've all kind of touched upon the theme around imposter syndrome. I think that's something that we all kind of live with. And on a personal level, you know, as someone who is a non-technical, non-gaming founder, I've just got to a stage where I just think, well, this is who I am. I feel uncomfortable. I'm going through daily challenges. You just have to embrace it and put it aside. And my way of, because I was recently asked, I was approached by an investor on LinkedIn, so I cannot emphasize enough how to remain active on LinkedIn. But there were several people that got in touch, and he kind of offered investment. I wasn't actively looking at the time. And he said, well, you know, if you do need to talk about the isolation and what you're going through, or the stress, and for me, just getting enough sleep, getting a good 8 to 9, ideally 10 hours, and just knowing that tomorrow's a new day has really, really helped me, because I think in addition to being able to speak to other people, a like-minded tribe, and having that support has really, really been fantastic. So, you know, the themes around commercializing, learning new terminology, business angels, that sort of thing, I think everyone's kind of gone on that journey. And that will just become clearer as you develop. So I know we're mindful of time. We've got to close off now. So if we could have one really short, quick top tip from each of you, what would your message be to the audience listening today? Really, really quick.
Really quick, just surround yourself with incredible people. They will lift you up, they will help you on your journey, they will give you the knowledge and skill and experience that you need, and then you can pass that forward. Just because you help someone else, if you pass on a candle and you light someone else's candle with it, it doesn't diminish your flame. There's room for us all at the finish line, so let's all support each other and lift each other up.
So I would say fundamentally stay true to your values. People will try and pull you away from them. People would have different perspectives, different opinions. Know what your values are and really stay true to them. And where you can, attract people with similar values to your team. I couldn't do what I do without the wonderful team at Tay Training, all that bring all of their experiences. So values, values, values for me in everything that you do.
Things rarely go to plan, so always be ready to adapt, obviously kind of keeping in mind your strategic goals.
I would say take it as it comes, so going back to the roller coaster theme, you're on the roller coaster, so there's going to be guaranteed lows, and there's going to be guaranteed highs. The lows won't last forever, the fall won't last forever, but enjoy the wins, enjoy the highs, and you got on the roller coaster, and that's a win.
Thank you, everyone. That's really
Thank you, Rida.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't seem to be mic'd up. Oh, yeah, no, it's come back on. So that's just 4 of our brilliant new 50 award winners. So, yeah, just a flavour of what's to come. Please do check out the stories of the others, as I said. We're now going to take a break. So we've got 15 minutes. So we need to get back here at 11:30. So if you're online, we'll see you back at 11:30. And people in the room, if you want to make your way out to the back. Sorry, my timing is off. Veronica, tell me what time they need to come back. 11:20. Sorry, just to clarify that, 11:20. Thank you, Priya. 11:20 back here, and we'll see everyone online back at 11:20. Please help yourselves to refreshments.
someone else, but not for me. Our love was out to get me. That's the way it seemed. Disappointment haunted all my dreams. Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace of doubt in my mind. I'm in love. I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. I thought love was more or less a given thing. Seems the more I gave, the less I got. What's the use in trying? All you get is pain. When I needed sunshine, I got rain. Oh, then I saw her face. Now I'm down in my mind. Said I'm a believer, yeah, 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 yeah. Said I'm a believer, yeah, I'm a believer. I'm a believer, yeah. just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. I wanna take you somewhere. There go my slide has arrived. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. How do you feel, baby? And if it's quite alright, can you baby? To you know nothing else, baby. Trust in me, but not say.
Yeah, of course you can, yeah.
Pardon the way that I stare. There's nothing else to compare. The sight of you leaves me weak.
It's my mic. Hi everyone, we're gonna make a start. So can I ask everybody to take their seats again, please? Welcome back. And welcome back to everybody online as well. Okay, so now we're going to move on to a second panel discussion. And the title for this is Women in Innovation Alumni, Inspire, Involve, Invest. And we're going to hear from two of our previous and past Women in Innovation Award winners. And the moderator for this session is Priya Guha. And Priya is a high-profile advocate for diversity and inclusion. She's played a variety of different senior roles in many different types of areas within business and across government as well. So her varied career and experience means that her views are valued and respected at senior levels within the public and the private sector. She says it, how she sees it, and people listen. And again, I'm sure you'll find that out from this panel discussion. She is currently non-exec director at UKRI and venture partner at Merian Ventures, plus countless other roles that would take forever for me to run through. So over to you, Priya.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, but really the pleasure is to introduce to you two amazing Women in Innovation alumni. So I have with me here Christine Boyle and Claire Buckle, and we're going to start just by giving them the chance to tell you just a little bit about their journey and their companies, but also the Women in Innovation Award and how that changed their trajectory. So we're going to start with that, and then I'm going to ask them some questions. So Claire,
yep.
I'm going to ask you to go first.
Yeah, I've got a little. It's easier if I speak. So actually, I am Claire, and I am the founder of a ability and consultancy. I have cerebral palsy, and I formed my business in 2019 after being actually made redundant and struggling to get a job only because everybody saw actually my cerebral palsy and over me. And I am a retired GB para-athlete, and I have spent all of my years since I was actually 15 in sport. So I had no business actually knowledge prior to 2019. I've actually won several awards, and I set up a ability and consultancy to change perceptions of disability and reduce the stigma. And all of our courses and online are delivered and actually written actually by and disabled people sharing their own experiences. So in 2019, and I was asked by this little boy, and a really hard question, and actually that actually led me to have a crazy idea, and it was to actually try and actually put everybody in the world of somebody that has a impairment. So I was trying to use technology and to show and the non-disabled world actually what it is actually like. And pre-women in innovation, I had a little prototype, and post-innovation, I have this.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Claire. That's an amazing video. We'll talk a bit more about the company in a second. But Christine, over to you.
Hi, I'm Christine Boyle, CEO of Synergy. Previous to that, I spent 20 years in the commercial roofing industry. And 7 years ago, I had a vision that we would be looking at building integrated solar. And lo and behold, the market is ready for building integrated solar. My family had a roofing company, and I think every boy in the family, my grandfather, my father, my uncles, my cousins, and my only brother, all went into the roofing company. And my father said, no, you'll go to university, meet a rich man, and all will be good. I did go to university. I went into the banking and the finance sector, didn't meet a rich man, and eventually I got frustrated within the banking industry that I wasn't going far enough, fast enough, and I took a career break initially to go into the family business. Well, we had a conversation one time. My father was thinking about retirement, and he said, you know, all those boys, they're great at technically doing things on a roof, but not probably so good at keeping the bank manager happy. I think you would be good at that. And that was the conversation, and when I look back to that conversation, I did it because I did it for family. You know, I wanted to keep the company going, and I wanted to keep everybody still employed, and I wanted to keep the business going. And we went through really good years in the construction industry, the Celtic Tiger. I'm from Belfast, the accent, and we were doing really well, and then came the recession, and we were hit very badly. We were a subcontractor at the bottom of the pecking order. We had done very large commercial contracts, and we never got paid for them. And went through a really bad time and thought, well, I go back into the finance sector because somebody paid my salary every month, and that was good. And then I thought, I've learned an awful lot about this industry, and I had this vision of what the industry was going to look like in 5 to 10 years' time, and I thought maybe I could be a part of that. And you know what the answer was. We knew that we were starting to use elastomeric polymeric materials, and I knew that if we developed those materials, we could then integrate the roofing panels right into the roofing system. And I had a network of already business associates that I could start, testing the product with, etc. And then the Innovation Women in Innovation Award came, and I was from Belfast, and it was in the UK, and I kind of went, and I applied and was successful, and that was a real changing point. And 7 years later, we have got considerable grant funding. We've raised 3.5 million to date. We've currently a plan to raise another 10 million. We're working with NYSERDA, the New York State Energy Department in New York. They value our product as well in terms of the challenges that they're facing. And it's just now a really exciting time for us.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that, Christine. And you were 2016 award winner, and you're 2021.
I'm 2021, yeah.
Brilliant. So let's go back to the beginning of your journey. And you talked in your introduction there, Claire, about having that question asked of you and then having this idea.
It's a crazy idea.
of turning it into a business. So how do you turn an idea into a business?
I think because I am disabled, I always have to think outside the box all of the time. So I knew I had one, and I actually went and I got a local university just to, have to say that I actually went with my spider diagram, and I went, I want something like this. And they were like, okay. And they looked at it and they went, I'm not sure. And we just played with it a little bit. And then we got a prototype. And then in August of 2021, I saw actually women in innovation. And I actually thought that I actually wasn't quite actually ready. So I applied, and not to win. And it only...
Whoops.
I know, yeah. Didn't really go that way. I was like, I'm rubbish. And I actually wanted some actually feedback, and just to see if somebody else had that crazy idea that on the same lines as me. And then I went through the process and I actually won, and then I was like, oh no, what have I done? I now have to learn everything about tech, which I have no idea about, and I have to deliver this. But I have to say that I have a really strong team behind me. So I have a friend who is an award-winning app and developer, actually with Apple, which at the time I had no idea about. And I just asked him if he knew somebody, and he looked at me and went, that's my job. And I was like, oh, will you do this then? And that's what he's actually done. So I have landed on my feet, but I have actually worked really hard to get there. And now we're just at the final stages, and we just need to launch it, which is the most scary part.
Well, we're going to come on to that in a second. Christine, you obviously had some experience of the business, but taking the leap to actually creating your own business and building the team around. Talk us through a little bit about that journey from your perspective.
I think building the team is the most important. When you say turning an idea, I think you're the person with the idea and the vision. And it is a vision because you are a visionary. You see into the future, and you see how the future should be or could be, and then there's this big gap, and it's like, And everybody can stand in the pub on a Friday night and come up with their ideas. But innovators are the people that actually continuously, relentlessly, 4 o'clock in the morning, ping ideas, and they're the ones that actually plug that gap. And I think to accelerate that, it's the team. So you've got to go looking, and I think you've just said it there as well, Claire. You've got to go looking for people that are better at you in every single piece of, and put the jigsaw together. And then you've got to stand back, because this is your baby. And it genuinely, I used to think of it as, you have, and particularly female, we can relate to this baby's born, and it's all yours, and then you put it through to get it to primary school, and then you get it to secondary school, whoops, sorry. And then it's a teenager, and other people are getting involved in its life, and it's got, people giving them better advice, and people them taking them off here, and people them having other ideas of what they're going to do. And it's really difficult to transition from you having to do all of the work and be responsible for everything, to then allow that team to step in. And then your job is to just enable every single one of that team member that they have the resources to do and deliver everything much better than you can. And that's the lovely part of the journey. You're just about to go there.
One of the questions, and I'm going to ask you, Claire, what you think about this first, but you may well have a view as well, Christine, is as you're growing that sort of, let's call it the teenager, let's carry on with that analogy that you gave us, Christine, the balance between hiring people and using external contractors. So tell us how you're looking ahead to that. What's your thinking about that?
I think in the short and actually medium term, subcontractors help, but I see it actually very much actually moving in house. When that is, I don't really know at the moment, but it's really key to make sure it stays within our organisation. I actually know, and the app and developer is always going to be there, but I just need to move on from that as well and just have my own team and my own little vision.
That's great. And Christine, how did you balance that between FTEs and contractors?
I think this is where entrepreneurs then come into their own, because we just are good at that. You always have your next milestone and your next goal, and you know what the next win is. And we focus on that. You keep the big vision out there, but you focus, how do I get to the next stage? And sometimes in terms of resource, it's easier to get there with somebody short term. But if you're going to get there long term, you've got to build that in, and you've got to have ownership of that. And that's creating the intellectual property within your company constantly. So it's building value, it's building knowledge, it's building know-how, it's building ideas that, you had one idea. See, when you get 10 people around the table, whoa, they're passing the ball. It's like, who was it, Arsenal on Saturday night? They just pass that ball, it gets there, and it's in the net. And it gets really exciting when you collectively bring that diversity. And I think as a female, you understand that the importance of that, bringing that diversity in and getting different ideas and allowing yourself not just to be, okay, it was your idea, but you've got to step back and allow other people to take this teenager and take it to university and build it up and strengthen it up and find a partner and, be able to cope with survival.
How long are we going to pull this analogy out? Are we going to go to mortgages? Yeah. I don't know, but we'll try, Christine. But Christine, you touched on a really important piece there around IP. So Chantal in the previous panel talks about how actually IP was really, the root that inspired her to think about her business model. And obviously your business has a lot of IP at the centre of it. How did you think about protecting that IP? What advice would you give to others?
Lean on the support of women in innovation because it's a minefield out there, and you think you're talking to people and you're having a little chat and they're giving you a bit of advice, and a consultant comes in and does a piece of work, or you work with a university and you don't realise that the contract that you have actually gives them ownership. So it's a minefield. Lean on the good advice that you have. value what you're doing and how you're building that. And I think for us, through again Innovate UK, we were taken out to America. I think Emily, Boston for a week. We had a fantastic time. I'm brilliant. And we spent the week to learn how they commercialise and how they really leverage that IP and how they build on it. And I kind of learned, oh, your IP is your moat. So you've got your idea, but your IP is the moat around that.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes eminent sense. So coming back to Ability Consultancy, you've got your business plan, you've now got that amazing app that you showed us earlier on the video. You are now about to launch and need to find customers. So talk us through what's happening next, talk us through the launch and who you're thinking you're going to sell it to.
Okay, so I started in 2021 with a app. I actually now have 3 apps. So I have a primary school one, I have a secondary school one, and I have a professional one. And we have developed a teacher training resource packs. So our majority are in schools, and it hits the PHSE target. But it is also about actually making workplaces accessible, cafes, everything accessible. So we have a actually wide consumer base, but I would say 75% in schools, with the professional ones just actually making sure that they are hitting the quality standards.
I'd love to just get your take on sort of finding customers, Christine, as well.
Anyone that has a roof. and that's what we say, you know, when we start off with a pitch deck, you know, you get the big number at the top and the big opportunity, but in reality, it's you're way down here trying to scavenge through and finding customers, number one, that are innovative, that are on the same mindset with you and want to help and work with your product and get that product market fit, and then are willing to open up first order. So what we did then was we actually, everyone that has a roof, narrowed it down into the easiest people for us to sell to at the minute is off-site manufactured new homes, because they're already energy efficient, they're well built, and they're very open to putting a solar roof on because it's value added to their customer. So we narrowed it right down to find those customers. We wanted to home in, there's a few of those off-site manufactured home builders in Northern Ireland, so we wanted to find someone locally that we could work with and, you know, look at and kind of get into their factory and understand the way they did it and how we were going to integrate and streamline the whole process and stuff. And so it's important defining what those first niche customers are, your beachhead market, and then really getting someone within there that wants to work with you, because lots of people say they do, but then 2 months down the line something more important comes up for them, they're not really interested in your new product anymore. So finding someone with an innovative head within companies is important as well, because they get you and they get what you're both trying to achieve. And then it's selling the value. You've got to really, you know, standing up here and being able to speak, and then learning how to present and pitch, and you really have to consist, because 7 years ago nobody believed me. You know, it's like, oh, I'm not going to do that. So you've got to turn that into reality, and when you're at an early stage, the only way that you can turn that into reality is your voice. That's all you have to convince people to join you on your journey, to open their doors and let you in to try and trial with you. So you've got to learn those skills, and maybe they're already, if you're here and you're doing this, you have those skills. Because we are a weird race. you know, and when you meet and connect with innovators, you just automatically bond. You're like, oh, you're one of us. You're one of those people that waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you're nuts, and the idea doesn't leave you. It's just won't go away.
So you mentioned something there about pitching, and obviously pitching to customers is one point, but pitching for fundraising is another element. Can you just give us a snapshot of your fundraising journey?
Not easy, would sum it up. We talked earlier about percentages-wise. That would have been the percentage for females getting their first round of funding, when you're getting maybe 100, 200,000 to get yourself off the ground. Of those women, 0.003% of them get the next round of funding. So it gets even more difficult. I think once you get to that stage, it gets easier, but that early stage, so getting some funding who somebody believes and gives you a little bit to get you to there is difficult. Getting someone to fund you to get to, 4 or 5 million valuation, because that's the stage of the real product market fit. Will it, won't it? It's not an idea, it's a bigger risk, it's a bigger gamble. And the sad thing is that most venture capitalists are male. And when they do sit in front of
With some notable exceptions, Christine.
Yeah, very notable. But and their decision isn't to invest in you. Their decision is to invest in whoever is coming through the door today. So they're making a choice. And sometimes it's easier for them to choose the male because he's been there, done it, won't have children, won't have obstacles. It's a safer bet, and subconsciously they choose the male, they invest in the male as opposed to taking a risk and investing in the female. So it's not necessarily that they don't like you or don't like your idea. They're making a choice, and it's a safer choice. Oh, I'll invest in the male rather than take a gamble with the female.
I think you're highlighting a widespread challenge. I think the awareness of that challenge is much greater now. So actually what we are seeing is more and more funds who are actively trying to break into new networks to look for businesses. So hopefully a lot of the Women in Innovation Award winners will be part of that next wave. So we are here with the Women in Innovation Award, and to close off, I wanted to come back to something that you inspired me to finish with, actually, in your first comment, Christine, which was you talked at the beginning about your particular female leadership traits and how you thought that had given you an advantage when you were starting the business and scaling the business. So I'm going to ask both of you, maybe just tell us why you think you've got an amazing perspective from which to build and grow your businesses.
Because very few understand the challenges of life that I have. So I have seen as your life from a completely different angle. I always have to look at how to do something very differently, and actually that has given me a unique perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Christine, how about you?
It's a really hard one, because I ask me that myself all the time. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? How did I get here? I think my father had a big influence, because I wasn't working in the business, but it was around our kitchen table. It was talked about. I used to spend the summer months sitting beside him in the car as he did site visits. So all of that was not scary for me. It was like common nature that, of course I know building site, of course I know these people, I talk to them, they know who I am. So my experience in life made it easier for me to do it, and probably, Claire,
do you think it makes you a better leader?
Being female?
No,
or just your experience?
Having your lived experience, coming to your company from the perspective you have.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think if we asked everybody in this room, they'd say yes. So I'm going to feed you that answer, Christine. I'm going to feed you that answer. Well, look, it is just inspirational to hear both of your journeys. I think you've both brought an idea from a very early conceptual stage to something that is real, lived, and will make an incredible impact in lots of different ways. So please all join me in thanking two amazing Women in Innovation alumni, Christine and Claire.
Okay, I think I'm through the table. Did you draw?
Just brilliant. Another, two examples of award winners sharing their stories, their journeys, and their brilliant innovations. I mentioned earlier that if you're an award winner, you'll probably feature in videos and we'll take lots of photos of you. We'll also keep inviting you back. So Christine, we're still inviting her back, and we will continue to invite her back to get involved in events like that. So once you're with us, we try and keep hold of you and keep working with you, and that's what it's all about, building that alumni and building that peer network and supporting each other going forwards. So next up, we have something a little bit different, which is an in-conversation session. So we've got Yvonne Greaves from NatWest and Christine Hockley from British Patient Capital. So I would like to invite these two up onto the stage, please. And we're going to hear some personal reflections from both of our speakers about the current status in the UK around gender equality in business, entrepreneurship and innovation. What's working? What's not working so well? Where do we need to make improvements for the future? And we've heard a lot today about women in innovation, the work that Innovate UK is working on. This is going to tell us something a bit different about, more broadly, what other organisations are focusing on and some big efforts. So the Rose Review, which I know both of you are kind of closely involved with, we'll hear a bit more about that, I think, from this discussion now, which is obviously, absolutely relevant to what we're here talking about today. So thank you both, and over to you.
Great. Thanks, Emily. Thanks, everyone. I think we've heard quite a bit about finance from all of the fantastic panels and speakers we've had today. And I think Yvonne and I are really interested to have this conversation from two different perspectives, me from the sort of equity and VC funding side, and I think Yvonne, you from the debt and angel funding side, and which we'll pick up on later. But I think from my point of view, Yvonne, I'm quite interested to just hear a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely no. So up until 10 years ago, I was very much a traditional banker, and it never really crossed my mind that I had no female customers sitting within my portfolio, and that I was the only female in my team, because that one about you can't be what you can't see, never crossed my mind. And it wasn't until one day a little email came in from Young Enterprise saying, would you like to be a business advisor? And I thought, oh my God, I don't know if I've got the skills for that, but yeah, why not? And it started this whole weaving this journey into enterprise education, social enterprises, women in business, and eventually I landed in women in business, which is my one true love. And it's all around sort of trying to level the playing field and trying to get more women to be set up their own businesses, and importantly scale those businesses as well. So I really started off in a personal experience when I was a full-time mum. I took a 5-year career break and I tried to set up a couple of businesses. I had so many I thought they were great, so many ideas, but I'd only wished in 2007 that there was this phenomenal ecosystem that I knew about and that was there that could have supported me, because I'm a frustrated entrepreneur. I would love to have my own business one of these days. So I understand what it's like to be at-home challenges about trying to set up a business and not having enough confidence, not having the money, not having the networks. And so we're trying to break down some of that with the work that we're doing with the Rose Review and with my work within NatWest.
And it's interesting, Yvonne, because actually my journey is not too dissimilar. I've not always been in finance. I've worked in industry as well and finance.
I also took a long career break too, tried to set up my own business, found it very challenging with young. I'm full of admiration for everybody here. And also understand what it's like to then go back into the workforce, because, you know, after being at home with young children, you wonder if you can have those conversations anymore, if you still have those skills there. So it is quite challenging. I mean, I've now been 8 years at British Business Bank, and 4.5 years of those with British Patient Capital. I'm now Managing Director of British Patient Capital, and I have the real privilege to back innovation. It's endlessly exciting. It's a really fantastic thing to do, and within that, I'm able to drive that agenda into looking at female access to finance for female founders and for diverse founders generally, and we'll come on to talk a bit about that, but it's an area that I'm very privileged to have and really passionate about. I wonder if it's all right if I just explain a bit about British Patient Capital, if that's okay. So British Patient Capital is part of British Business Bank, and that's the development bank within the UK. So we were set up in 2018 with 2.5 billion of funding from the government to look at that growth agenda, to invest in venture capital funds that invest in early stage and growth stage businesses. So we've now invested 1.6 billion. We're in over 60 funds, and we work with 40 fund managers. So we're the largest domestic investor in UK venture capital. We also, through our programme, 375 million programme Future Fund Breakthrough, are the most active investor in UK life sciences and deep tech companies at that later stage as well. So we've invested in 15 businesses now, 7 in life sciences, 8 in deep tech. And very much within that, looking at the diversity agenda through what we do. And we've had a recent evaluation that shows that the businesses that we invest in, the growth is there, that there's increased employment, up to 5,000 more jobs going, and increased pre-money valuation of those businesses, and actually more likely to be university spin-outs as well. So that real innovation agenda is shown through into what we do. And interested, Yvonne, on your side of NatWest, what you're doing now.
Yeah, so we are starting to see a huge amount of change, and it has taken time, and I think one of the key areas and key takeaways is we don't want to see the pace of change slow down. So at NatWest Group, we've been supporting women entrepreneurs since 2003 with an actual programme. So I head up our women in business strategy across all the various brands of NatWest Group, but predominantly NatWest, Royal Bank and Royal Bank of Scotland and Ulster Bank, and it's all around making sure we've got the right propositions, the right services in place at the right time to help you on your journey. But a large part of the work that we also do, I could sit here and do a huge sales pitch for NatWest if you want more information. We have a great website. We've got accelerator hubs. We've got everything from every single stage of the journey, and it's all around, especially our accelerator hubs, around 43 to 50%, depending on the cohort, are women entrepreneurs, and we've done a lot to really try and get more women entrepreneurs into our various programs. And it's also about tracking data. You know, a lot of organisations try to, and we'll come on to the Investing Women Code in a couple of minutes, but it's all about tracking the data and setting targets, because if you don't set a target, there's no chance a banker's going to hit that target, because, you know, like, that's the way that they're driven. So about setting targets, about having key performance indicators and actually reporting on them, and holding your hands up and saying when you've not hit them. 60% we started to influence. We had 206 drivers as access to finance, #1 barrier. At every single stage, access to finance is the #1 barrier. Childcare solutions, and not being the mother's childcare solution, about family childcare responsibilities, and access to mentors and networks are the 3 key drivers of the rules review, and we can delve into them. But I really do encourage you to...
Organisation, financial institutions sort of claimed to support female entrepreneurs. There's a very senior person who's very visible, who supports it all, and the data that comes out of that the signatories provide is very helpful for knowing that we're going on that journey, and that actually, you know, things are happening, and that processes are put in place so that female entrepreneurs are able to get that access to finance. I think my kind of really big and proud announcement today, Yvonne, is that British Patient Capital is actually announcing that we've signed as one of the first limited partners the Investing in Women Code today. And I think that for us is something that we really celebrate. So we as an organisation have been looking at diversity through the fund managers for quite some time now. So for a number of years, all through our due diligence process, we've been sitting down with those VCs that you're all looking at and actually talking to them about, how do they look at diversity? Is it incorporated into their processes? And actually, it's quite surprising how, if you're asking questions about diversity alongside performance, sometimes they really do, take a step back and think, okay, this is important. And our recent independent review has actually validated that. So the VC fund managers have said that British Patient Capital, through their due diligence and asking questions, have made them focus on D&I, have made them look at the metrics, measure the metrics, and sign up to the Investing in Women Code. And we can see, if we look at the data provided by the Investing in Women Code, that actually the investment teams actually have more females on them than the wider market. So yeah, so 30% of the teams are female versus 20% of the wider market. And also one of the BBB's reports said that, or found that 30% of the funding going to these businesses are businesses with females in their teams, so their senior teams. So I think that it's really making a difference in VC, and I would encourage you to look at the Investing Women Code signatories when you're going to look out for funding, because there's evidence there that it does count. And I wonder if it's the same on the debt side, Yvonne, is it really making a difference there?
Yeah, so getting everybody to share their data. So that of the 190 signatories, we've got most major banks and building societies built into there, the venture capitals, as you've said, and the angel community. We're starting to see, we're only 2 years into collecting data. The third report's coming out in May, so we are in the early stages of analysing the data. And I never realised how much I loved data until I started working with the bank's data and Investing in Women Code data. But simple things like 13% of applications come from women, 51% come from male-owned businesses. So, getting the funnel about how do we make it more attractive for women to see that debt financing at the right time is right for their business. Approximately 51,000 on an average loan to a woman compared to 107,000 for a male business owner. So how do we try to narrow these gaps? We're training up our staff. We've got over 1,000 frontline staff that are trained up to understand what are the barriers that women face with their businesses and how can I change that and what can I do with sometimes a couple of extra questions. What would an extra 10,000 do for your business? So we're starting to see, hopefully over the next couple of years, we'll start to see that gap close. With regards to Angel, we've been doing a huge amount in the Women in Angel Investment Task Force. So Jenny Tooth, the incredible Jenny Tooth, who's chair of UK Business Angels, set up the Women in Angel Task Force, and she kindly says I co-chair it with her, but really she's the lead, she's amazing. So we've set up this task force. We launched a report about where are the women angels, and there's a lot of women angel investors. There's around 5,000 that have invested in more than two companies, and what we're starting to see is we know that if more women become angel investors, that they invest typically 30 to 50% of their portfolio of money into other women angel investors, but women are not being advised to become angel investors for a number of reasons. They're getting told, go into do some philanthropy instead, go into maximise pensions property. Yeah, that's all very well and that's great, and you should have a balanced portfolio, but men are being advised to, if they're exiting a business or got extra cash flow, to go and start investing in other businesses as well. So it's about just trying to sort of break down some of those nuances and some of those barriers. With regards to angel investing, the first report that came out showed that women were asking for 60% less than men when it came to angel investing, and that's because we're used to bootstrapping. That's because we're used to, we undervalue in our businesses, or lots of different reasons. It's not one thing. The last report said that it was more equal, but it'll be interesting to see the third report how that's changing. But there is a movement behind around trying to get more women to become angel investors, more women on the investment committees, and what we found was angel investing is where the vast majority of UK businesses are, and then hopefully feeding that funnel into venture capital, where we know that that figure that floats around anywhere between 1% and 9%.
Yeah, the BBB's equity tracker said it was 2% in 2021, actually down from 4% invested in all-female teams. So we need to get that increase. But the British Business Bank, we're currently working on some further research into looking at those barriers for diverse founders, into what can VCs do, or what can we encourage VCs to do to actually make that access to finance easier. And that will be published very soon. But I think from our own point of view, looking at our own organisation, the BPC board is very supportive of diverse founders. Our board is 50% female. Within BPC ourselves, our CEO, Catherine Lewis-Latour, obviously is female, and the senior team's 50% female as well. So we really do look at ourselves too. Our direct investing team as well is almost 50% female, and that then goes through into those 15 businesses that we have invested in. 4 of those have got some fantastic female CEOs within them. So I think, we're looking to move forward on this agenda, and I think it's really important. And I think that the businesses that we've invested in are fantastic, and some really inspiring women that are leading them.
And just on that board part, as women entrepreneurs, building a great board around your business, even if you can't afford to pay them at the start, like it's an advisory board, just building that board so that's part of your team. They're part of a really great team to help you, because that's sometimes a challenge when women go, and all businesses, but women, we hear more when they go for investment, that there's not a huge sort of team or board around them. And also, I'm hugely passionate about getting everybody, young women, onto boards from an early stage in their career. So if you've not joined a board yet, start looking into it, because I've now got a non-exec portfolio and I absolutely love it, and the learning that I gain from it, bringing back into the workplace, and advising as well is so valuable. So I think especially when you take that childcare gap, if you decide to take it, it really can plug that gap of knowledge coming back into the workforce.
Yeah, no, I think Yvonne, and what would you want people to take away, I think, from our discussion today? What's the actions that people can take away, do you think?
A couple, ask your bank for help, or ask the ecosystem. I hate that word ecosystem, but ask this huge amount of support around you for support, and get to love your numbers. There's no excuse for really not loving the numbers. If you don't understand them, ask for support, ask for help, but really get to know the numbers, because it's the one thing that you'll fall over on if you go for pitches and you just don't have an in-depth knowledge of them.
Yeah, no, I think that's really great advice. And I think also, from my point of view, it's looking for where the information is as well. I mean, British Business Bank's got a finance hub which talks about all the different sorts of finance that people can get. So there is information out there. And I think also there's a female hub we were discussing earlier, that with information on, which maybe you'd like to talk a little bit more about.
So there's one of the problems is, where do you go for help? So if you Google in entrepreneur support, you've got about, I don't know how many millions of hits, but you've got so many hits. So there is an Investing in Women hub that we're looking at, trying to bring together in that sort of one-stop shop. So that's been worked on as part of the Rose Review, so hopefully that will follow very quickly. Most of your banks, most banks now have great support. Eagle Lab with Barclays, and obviously accelerators with NatWest, but lots of banks have a lot of support, so just going and tapping into them and asking and nipping into your local branch. They'll hate me for saying that, but going to their website is a first instance. But just really tapping into all the different areas. And LinkedIn is a great source. I can't remember who said it, but LinkedIn is such a great source of business as well, and just tapping in. Most people will offer you, are happy to give you half an hour of help, if you just ask for it.
Yeah, no, I think that's right as well. And I think, also within the VC community, that support is there if you look for it. And I think, Innovate UK, British Business Bank, all these different organisations really are helpful with the overall support that they can give to everybody. And again, there are findings that Innovate UK, followed on by funding from British Business Bank, there are more successful outcomes from those businesses. So that was a finding of a recent report. So, really embrace the funding and the support that you're getting, because, we're here to encourage diverse founders to be successful in the firm of funding that is going to female founders.
And use your network, and use Innovate UK's network, use other networks, because warm introductions get you so much further faster than cold introductions. So I'd say the Investing in Women code on UK Gov has got all 190 signatories. They're a first starting point, because they've signed up that they want to support more diverse business owners as well, you know, obviously women. And no, we're not diverse, sorry, I don't mean it like that, but like they want to support more women with investment. So that's a good first starting point, and work from there. But really work your network as well, and build your network.
Yes, because I think it's a finding throughout all of the Investing in Women code, on the angel side, the VC side, probably the debt side as well, that the warm introductions do then translate into greater funding. And actually I think it's 12% of decks are from female founders, so we do want to increase that number too. But yeah, it's interesting to read the Investing in Women Code reports, to understand, you know, the data, and maybe to learn from that as well.
And I think, you know, like, we are trying to help banks make money by lending, by the way, so it's good for us to lend. So, you know, like, so it's we want to lend, we want to support. It's just sometimes it's about the right timing, and sometimes timing's just not right, or there's getting the debt in at the right stage, or getting the funding in at the right stage of the business. But that's where you can ask for help from this wide network that you're in this community.
Yes, so I think, Yvonne, what we found in our discussions actually is the themes are quite similar, from the debt angel side and VC side, and so I think, you know, we're both here to try and help break down those barriers, and let's hope that journey continues.
And thank you, because
thank
funding
you.
Is probably not the session at the very end of such an inspirational day, but it is important, because it is the number one barrier. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And, you know, I think it was a great session to have at the end of the day, and actually painted a pretty positive scene of, you know, there's lots of support available out there for women innovators. So it's one of the things I believe is that we need to work better together. So Innovate UK, Foundervine, BVC, NatWest, you know, how can we collectively, you know, make all of our efforts come together so that we're having more impact and enabling you to get the support that you need in the right way. So there's definitely more work to be done on that, and that's a real priority for us going forwards. Data. Love the numbers. I think that's gonna last with me. And how you remember all of those different statistics, quite incredible. So yeah, thank you very, very much for that. So it's now time to introduce really the last speaker for the day, which is Kirsty Hewitson. So Kirsty is the Innovate UK KTN Chief Executive Officer. She's also the Senior Lead responsible for Equality, Diversity and Inclusion at Innovate UK. She's also my manager. And we talked a little bit before about the importance of leaders, and I just want to take the time now to say thank you to Kirsty. She's only been my manager for a little while, really, I think, in terms of the work that I've been doing on this agenda, and you know, she's been incredibly supportive, encouraging, helpful, and I really appreciate it. So I just wanted to give that little shout out. So Kirsty, come up here and tell us what you think about the event today.
Thank you. Well, on that note, I've probably got to say nice things, right? So, no. So I have to apologize. I'm a bit of a wanderer, so I might wander up and down the stage a little bit, if that's okay. So, as Emily said, I'm the interim chief exec at Innovate UK KTN, and it's been my absolute pleasure to be here today. I think you'll all agree it's been an absolutely phenomenal occasion. And when Emily asked me to give the closing speech, I thought, what a huge honour and what a huge privilege to stand on the same stage as many of the female speakers today and others. But I also thought it's a bit of a curse, right? Because you're thinking, in 9 minutes, I get to have lunch. Yeah? Or you're thinking, am I going to catch that 1 o'clock train from Piccadilly? I hope she doesn't take too long. And I want to get home and see my family and see my loved ones, so I'll try to be as quick as possible. So one of the things that I was asked to do was to close today and reflect on all the great panels, the inspirational speakers, and everybody that we've heard from today. So we kicked off with Lou, Izzy and Indro, and they gave their far-reaching perspectives and really helped to set the scene. We then heard from the current Women in Innovation winners about innovation being a force for good, and I think you'll agree with me that we're going to be looking forward to huge success from that cohort. Then we heard from our past alumni with all those top tips and tricks, and don't let it put you off. You know, we can still have success. And then finally, what a fascinating conversation we've just had, really remarkable. But I think my take-home message today is, often you turn up to events and you hear all this kind of corporate garble and speech and self-positioning and self-promotion. And today we've actually heard from the hearts of women about those lived experiences. And that, for me, really makes a real difference. And I guess I was reflecting earlier about why I really, really wanted to be here today. You know, because we often get invited to these events and think, oh God, I've got to go here, I've got to go there. But I thought, no, I really, really want to be here. And I thought, is it because I'm the chief exec? And I thought, no, that's not why I'm here. It's not in that kind of official capacity. And I thought, is it because I'm leading on D&I? And again, I thought, I mean, the team are fantastic. I'm so, so proud of them in terms of what they deliver. But that's not really why I'm here today. When I think about why I'm here today, it's because I'm a woman. I'm the same as a huge amount of the audience. I'm here because I'm a woman, and what you speak about today resonates with myself and the career that I've lived through and the experiences that I've had. And just to share some of those experiences, which again you might recognise, how many of us in this room have been in a meeting where actually we're the only woman who's present in the room? We're the only one here who's actually in the room. And sometimes you think, and I think, you know what, today is the day I'm going to be brave. And I'm going to say, excuse me, I'm the only woman in the room. Don't you think we should have a bit more diverse representation in the room? And everyone goes, yes, 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 and they shrug, and at the next meeting you're the only woman in the room, and you think, dare I mention it again? Oh no, I'll keep quiet. Or when I've mentioned it before, and I've had, dare I say, 2 middle-aged white men next to me go, I think she's talking about us. Does she not want us to be here? Anyway, where are we going after? Should we go back? And you're just like, okay. Or other times when you've been in a meeting and you've been running a project, and then suddenly you find a decision's been taken, and you're not quite sure when that decision was taken because you're one of the project leaders. And this is a real example for you from my career where we were engaging with a company from California. We had a big meeting in the UK. And at the end, they kind of like came up with all these actions. There was a couple of actions I didn't recognise. I said to my line manager, I said, where did those actions come from? I don't remember talking them to the meeting. And this is genuine. He said to me, we decided it over the urinals in the gents' toilets. And you just think, wow, that's made me feel included and part of the team. Or I come from a science and technology background, and often you go on site visits, and you go to put on your PPE, and how many times have you found that the lab coat's like 3 times bigger? Yeah, there's a few nods in the audience. And you put on the shoes that's supposed to be taken, and you feel like a bit of a clown because they're so big. And I used to work in the nuclear industry, and then I used to take along actually socks in my handbag just to make sure, you know, I could actually fit them on. So we've all experienced these things, and on one hand, you know, you get annoyed by them, you get frustrated, you get impatient, you feel as though it's predictable, but actually they've really helped me become the person I am today. They've made me stronger, they've made me more determined to make sure that I can overcome barriers, unlock doors for other people, and be that role model that we should be. So this is a question to the audience, and again, put your hands up. How many of you in this room have had at some point a real inspirational role model in your lives? So a good chunk of people. And for those people who have had role models, how many of them have been female? So again, similar, yeah. So again, it's interesting that we resonate with people similar in our own image. And I just want to tell you about my first role model. And it was a woman called Margaret McGough, or Maggie McGough. And she was a very strong Scotswoman, a very strong Scotswoman. And I knew her because back in the day, not now, I used to be a footballer. And you'd get to half-time, and I have to admit, sometimes you had a bit of a knot of fear in your stomach because Maggie was, she was vocal. If you hadn't been playing well, you knew you weren't going to be playing well. I wouldn't say fear, but you're a little bit apprehensive about what might happen at half-time. But the thing is, what you knew about Maggie is that fundamentally she really cared for the team. She really wanted you to do well. She committed her time, energy, enthusiasm. She cared for the team and she cared for the individual. And I was very fortunate that I used to get a lift home with Maggie, and we spent hours together in the car. And you've got to remember, I was a teenager, so we talked about school worries, home worries, what the future was going to be when I went to university and moved away from home. And I'll always remember that she gave me that time, energy, commitment, and listened, and really, really listened. And for me, she became an inspiration and somebody that I would really like to be. So my final question to you today is, how many of you in this audience truly, truly believe that you're role models? Hands up. You should all have your hands up. You really should all have your hands up, because everything that I've heard today, you should be confident about the success that you've brought and that you've delivered. You work exceptionally hard. You are determined to succeed. You're curious, you're compassionate, you have optimism. And so what I've taken from today is the collective inspiration in this room is truly phenomenal. You really do have the opportunity to unlock untapped talent from across the UK, to be able to be those role models, to lead and to inspire, to be able to, give the future generation.
Now, we need to say goodbye to everybody online. We've got lunch and networking in the room over there, and I won't hold you for too much longer, but I do have a list, she says, let me find it, of people that I need to say thank you to. Yeah, here it is. Okay, first of all, Veronica, who has organised this event and done an exceptional job. We have the event reps, Alana and Ellie, who have been supporting today. The fantastic comms team, Emily Lamb, over there in the room. Emily Baghdadis, who's not here, Richard Roberts. Luke, who, you won't know who Luke is, but Luke's been supporting everybody online, so he's been really important. David, the photographer. Oh yeah, David, thank you. And our two BSL interpreters who, oh my goodness, you must be exhausted, is all I can say. And some people have been speaking very quickly. So incredible. Thank you. Thank you to all of you for joining. Thank you to our fantastic speakers, panel members. It's been a brilliant day. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've got lots of inspiration. I hope you make some new connections. And I hope that you feel empowered to take your work forward. And we are brilliant, all of us here in the room, and we're going to go places. So thank you very much.